And we can go right from a little about your business to what are the areas that you feel are really important missing areas in the industry? Because I think the important thing is we can all talk about hormones. We can all talk about these different stages of a woman's life,
Yeah.
period, sleep, everything. But I guarantee you look at it different. And that's really where
Everybody
the
does.
special sauce comes in.
So my job as a doctor of natural medicine is to provide as many options, obviously holistic and all natural, as physically possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I really love nutrition, so I tend to go in that realm first. But I also am really big on herbs. So I focus a lot on herbs, herbal supplements, because, like, I know, for example, mom, there are plenty of cases like mom where they don't have an active stomach or digestive system, where I have to create a whole nother like loophole. So I do a lot of essential oils, I do a lot of herbs, and I do a lot of like movements and anything I can find as far as providing them with as many alternative options as possible. So I
Yeah.
do like acupuncture, but in your ear.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like auriculotherapy. I do a lot of pressure points and all that jazz, but I work primarily online because I wanted to be able to go and help as many as people as possible. One of my biggest downsides is that I when I'm working one on one with a client, it's expensive. And I
Yeah.
want to be able to help more people. So I wanted to do like programs
Mm-hmm.
that I can put at a lower price range. And as long as those people fell into that set criteria, I could funnel them into that program. So I'm helping them for a lower cost, which means I can help even more people type deal. So
Mm-hmm. Yep. And were you thinking, one, let me even say first, I'm like, this is my girl because my biggest why, of course, was my family, my own health issues, but even bigger, and one would say, what's bigger than your family was what I felt was a lack of choices.
yeah.
Sometimes it is necessary to get medicine. I mean, I just had a tooth infection that I guarantee I've been harboring for about 4 years. And because
Ugh.
of all the things I do, even my periodontist was said, it's probably everything that didn't get you to the point that this really got infected or gum disease or anything, because that's one of the worst infections I've seen. But that's because of my acupuncturist and Chinese herbs and oil pulling and homeopathy and the supplements I take. I mean, everything I do. And I wouldn't have known those if I wasn't fortunate to search them out, know maybe there's a possibility, and to have hired really brilliant people that were able to take me steps and to teach me strategies. So I adore you already. Um, so what I always do is I draw a picture. So if you can see right here, like here are your four signature, what you want to be known for, your freebies, your list builders, they could be workshops. And the reason is, and it's great, of course, that you have your mom because her zone of genius is teaching people like yourself to become an influencer at a larger space in the digital market.
Yeah.
So I always start with freebies. And then, same thing that happened to me. Not everyone could afford my one on one. So I was put
Yeah.
money sad face because it's not. And it never felt alignment in me to say, put this on a credit card. Your health
I
will
hate
get better.
that. I hear.
It
I just
was
want to
said.
help you feel better. I don't want
I
to take
know it was
advantage.
it was said to me early on when I was trying to hire people for understanding all of this, of
Mhm.
these, how do I help people who can't afford me? And they would say, oh, you know, put on a credit card. And I would say, what if somebody really didn't have the money? Oh, they always have the money. And I would say, not everyone. When we went into debt, I really did not have the money. So, what about that opportunity? And also for people that maybe they don't see the value yet.
Yeah.
It's really going to help them. You're going to empower them with the tools so they fire you. So they go on into life and pay it forward. Now, somebody's either going to work with you one-on-one or they're going to go to option one. Do you see this as being a self-paced, do-it-yourself, a group?
I would love for it to be something like Mom's got a set up for her Thinkific program where it's kind of at your own pace, but at the same time, it's in a group setting.
Mm-hmm.
So they have their workbooks, they have all of the all of the educational information accessible to them whenever they want it. So if, for example, you had that person who's like, this is exactly what I needed, and they just burn through it, awesome. But they're still meeting with people on a weekly basis to kind of like touch base.
And also to have accountability. I mean, I think that's when I think of like the hormone specialist that like blew my mind, split it wide open, was when I was getting pregnant, and one of the people who was, working with me, I can't remember if it was, I think my doula gave me the one on vaccine. She was like, it's not a right or wrong thing. It's you having the information and making the decision that feels aligned with you. And then my acupuncturist gave me her first book. But what was the problem? I'm a person who can go through that information, but we usually want accountability to just know we're not alone. And that really didn't exist. So, question, do you envision two different options for the self-paced? Doesn't mean we implement both, but do you see it as like, if you can't work with me, here's step one. This is a do-it-yourself, and we meet, once a week, every 2 weeks? Or do you really see nailing down one system? We meet here, we meet each week.
I would like to do the group setting, but I also wanted to provide them with the option of doing like a subscription type deal where they have access to all that information. They can do it whenever they want. And if they need help, all they have to say is, hey, look, I'm ready to do the work.
So in a way, and tell me if I'm hearing you correct.
So it's kind of like three separate things.
No, it really, I mean, I think that one, I've always said, I think there's a certain personality and a certain commitment level. There's a few things that bring us to one-on-one. A certain personality, you're ready to commit. You know that you're going to get out of it what you need, no matter what the financial cost is. And then you have another person that really can't afford that, but they desperately know their life can change with you. And then you have another person who doesn't trust enough yet to do the one-on-one. So do you see...
Or they're too busy to
whatever their
I never understood.
I always say whatever their reason is, it feels very real to them.
Yeah. And at that moment, it probably is.
Until they go, through the one step, and they go, wow, I can't believe, and I'm not even working with her directly, and I can't believe the changes I already see. So do you see yourself where they are able to go through a self-paced, and we're going to meet twice in a group, something short? I'll just give you an example, like 21-day hormone detox. That could theoretically, you go through that group, you make the pre-recorded videos that you want them to have, like, hey,
that's exactly what I want to do.
Get. And then if you choose to do it live, say twice a year, that's because that's step one that leads into the more intensive 12-month, we're really going through a journey, aka also a membership.
Yes. So that is exactly what, like, I was talking to my mom about it, and she's like, I have to show you something real quick, because how I'd like written it out and shown her, I want to do a detox, and then I want to segue into like how to get your body ready to become fertile, to like have babies, and then be with you that whole road during your pregnancy, and then after pregnancy with you and your baby, and like keep with you the entire time for it to be this huge whole long journey. Within, like, you should be with that family now for at least the first year of their kid, because that's one of the hardest years is your first year. I mean, and she's like, let me show you what Rachel already has. And I was like, oh. Like, yes, that's exactly what I'm doing.
She always says to me, she's like, I literally sent everyone to you because you just like get it. You get that, like, you understand coaching, but you also understand like the flow of
And
human psychology, and that we are scared at different parts. Like, and that's why I tell coaches all the time, whether they're a doctor, acupuncturist, functional medicine practitioner, wellness coach, anyone. I'm like, you're losing money because you're taking it where they need to be, but they're not ready for that step yet. So my question is, and then same thing. I draw a picture even on the second part that you just said. So my question is, in your one-on-one, we want to have this, if you can afford me or if you're not ready, just tell me a quick about the 12-month vision, because the 12-month vision per se is really easy for us to map out if we're solely staying with fertility, pregnancy, and postpartum.
yes.
Or do you see you doing these mini groups, testing it, making it quote unquote proven, and then having a membership for women everywhere from fertility and on?
So I would love to go route 2 so that I can, one, have the testimonials, and two, I can address my clients who are already at different points in their life so that I can test each one where they're currently at. And then I can just string them all together.
So let's just play hypothetically. Hypothetically, Jane has to, just like all your clients have to come in to, let's get you leveled out, let's get you detoxed so you can hold progesterone and actually keep a baby.
Every person I interact with, that's the first thing I say is you need to do a detox, because we have all of these external toxins that we're constantly, it doesn't matter how clean you eat if you're exposed to like environmental toxins left and right.
Or if you haven't cleaned out your makeup, if you haven't cleaned out your food, if you haven't cleaned out under your sink, what's your arm deodorant? What's your soap? I know and that's why when people are like, I need to detox, I always say, why don't we talk baseline first? What's your idea of clean? So let's say hypothetically, Jane comes to you and Jane goes right into a 21-day hormone detox. Jane's got fertility issues. Jane is a type A personality, like you and I. We're like, we're doers, we're this. And Jane's had a tough time getting pregnant. And Jane's fertility health, because we know a lot of it is old stories, old stuff, maybe stagnation, all these different things that can lead to, why does she not have enough progesterone? Is she too high in estrogen? Does she need DIM? Like, what are all these, I would say 25 solid factors that are real? They're not even...
At least.
Yeah, at least. Those are just, I would say, from like the straight off perspective. What if Jane needs to stay in the fertility part longer? And we're just talking about the whole 12 months. Is it that Jane stays in the fertility part longer? Because what if Jane starts with 30 other women? And all these women easily go by fertility, and they all of a sudden are having, they're pregnant, then they go into nursing, postpartum. Where do you envision that process, just so we can kind of talk it out?
So what I would like is, I want it to be like, if, for example, like say I didn't get pregnant within the first section of it, that's totally fine. I should be able to go and repeat that section. And if after the second round, if I haven't had some sort of success, I would want to meet with them individually and kind of reassess and see if there's something more going on. And then at that point, we would go into doing it a third time with any corrections that may need to be done. And then hopefully within that third round, should have seen some sort of progress. Because if after 3 months you haven't had any positive like improvement, there's more than likely something bigger happening underneath. It's like they tell you, if you haven't had success after like 2 years, that you are a prime candidate to speak with a fertility specialist.
So this is my idea. and this is why a lot of coaches say, do I need different funnels? And I always say, I would say on average, the person with weight, person who talks sugar, the person who, it's not that these aren't vital steps or fitness, they can usually stay in a one funnel position per se. Like they might have all these different freebies, but all roads lead to Rome. Yes. When we have a situation that's autoimmune, gut, because we have all these different factors, even mindset, adrenals, and especially autoimmune and hormone, people are going to not what exactly go through the stages. And most often somebody goes through for 30 days and another layer appears. Yes. Another layer, because
have more than one detox.
You remove it, exactly.
There's still more.
There's more layers. There's more either emotional, mental, spiritual, physical dysbiosis than appeared, or something like heavy metals show up, or fungus, or all these things, environmental toxins, these biggies that we all have, don't allow them to move to that next step. So idea is everyone starts at a 21-day hormone detox. So everything does lead to Rome because you're like, this is step one. You know, yes. When I was XYZ and I wish that it just happened like this and it didn't, I realized I needed to do XYZ, or client A needed to do this.
I was like, for anyone, even if I'm doing like a weight loss setup, the first step is always detox. Yeah. Because that's the foundation of...
It's your baseline. And that's what I always say, my baseline, because everyone lives life most often. We don't know what is affecting us, which is why we do search for a coach. And especially, I would say in an online setting, we're having to... The best funnels is when we really go, okay, so what if this happens to Jane? What if she can't go? Or what if Sarah is more stuck in... postpartum and nursing, and her baby is not latching on? Does she have thrush? Does the baby have thrush? So it's like,
is she eating garlic?
Right. Is her nipple so sore? Maybe she's pulling back. There's all these things. So what I love is what you said is, yes, everyone comes through the detox. They go their fertility. And after 30 days, if you're not experiencing this, or maybe you want to say after 60 days, something
That's
like that.
That's why I said like the 2 months is probably best.
I would go more with like, guys, we're doing this 60, 60, 60, 60. You're really working by quarter. So theoretically, you could have, let's just say, whether it's Thinkific, Access Ally, really any different Kajabi, Kartra, any different system process one where you can take them through to the next level. Theoretically, somebody could start because the first 30 days is detox, or they don't even graduate into your membership until they've completed that.
Yes.
Or the beginning
That's
stage
what I want them to
could
do
be the 21 where they don't even enter the membership one. That's just like stage 1, or that's pre-stage. Then fertility is in 1 quarter, pregnancy is in another quarter, nursing and sleep, and that's because the pregnancy has a postpartum one, and it also is there's a nursing part to it. So you really could cover everything in that one path: fertility, postpartum, then have an entire one on nursing. I think that's just, nobody covers it unless you have a nursing person come to your house, or the 2 times in the hospital. But nursing is not.
Most people don't even know like what foods to eat, and they have these huge. I had one girl who was like, my son won't latch on, and I was like, tell me what you're eating, and she's like, I'm eating all of these spicy foods because I love them, and I have like an addiction to garlic. And I was like, oh my god.
Or they say,
smell garlic.
Or they start saying, my baby's having reactions. And that's actually
colicky.
That was a big thing for me. And I even was eating clean, but there was so much just gut stuff and metals and, parasitic stuff and things I really thought were handled per se, but they are past. And so I think that even nursing and like food reactions, setting also, and that can even tie into pregnancy, where you're really setting the stage for a good, canal. And the same
Mhm.
as you're setting the stage for really healthy breasts, and also for your baby, like really teaching about probiotics, the ones starting them at an early age on your breast, all the things that you only what figure out because you're like, somebody show me. And then you really end with like postpartum, or you could do nursing and postpartum together.
Mhm. I
And
was like,
then,
most moms experience postpartum while nursing, so I think it's a good idea to do it
mhm,
as a combo because most people don't even notice they have postpartum.
no, no. And
Like
then,
somebody else who chimes in and is like, I'm pretty sure you have this.
yeah. And they're like, really? I mean, I remember, especially with the second, because I'm such an A type personality where my fear gets settled by planning everything. And that was a
Mm-hmm.
big awakening. I remember my doctor being like, Rach, it's time for us to talk about you. Like, you're not stable anymore. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm going to work, I'm handling everything. And she's like, you're not stable. And it was, having somebody that I really trusted, being able to journey with me, and then to reach out to other people. Um, I think a fourth quarter, if you wanted to add something, is really what I call the time that no one talks about, which is that weight, emotional eating, just like self care,
Well,
and
your hormones are all
our
out of
hot
control.
mess.
I
And also
was
really
like,
focusing on like the things that do, like sleep and depression, and really making a whole 3 month to like, how do you find yourself again? And how do you define yourself? Because my favorite line I used to say to women I worked with who are pregnant postpartum is, a part of you had to die for that baby to be born. And so when a
yep.
mom says, I don't even know who I am, well, of course you don't, because the old you doesn't exist anymore. So that's how I kind of see your whole business. Is you really can take them through, and you could do a open doors really at one time a year, and that really becomes, even say it's 30 women
Mm-hmm.
who are committing to stay there. Of course, if it's too hard for the woman in fertility, you can always say in the beginning, we had somebody leave from our, our mommyhood child group, and I have an open spot. As long as you feel like it doesn't change the integrity. Or maybe you've decided your mom has a very similar process to this, where
Mm-hmm.
some people do open cart for membership twice a year. But I think when we're talking about very emotional things and trust, sometimes it's really
Mm-hmm.
hard for that to happen. But that would be, again, a choice where maybe you do 2 VIP sessions with each of them alone, so they do feel that they can continue. And if that woman, whether it's infertility or pregnancy, say she's lost a baby at 6 months, I
Yeah.
experienced that in my family with my mother and my stepmother. Just watching, it's horrific. And, that woman might not be able to continue, or she wants to
Yeah.
continue, but maybe she needs to be put in a smaller group of, women who have had issues, so that they really do stay in your customer life cycle, but you're also really going, you're not out, like, I have this beautiful place for you to continue. Because in my business, it's always been soul alignment first, money after. Like, I would want that. um
Exactly how I like,
Envisioned it.
which is also kind of like a double-edged sword because I tend to forget, hey, I still need to make money, and I'm always like, I'll do it for free.
I'm the same
I
way.
just want to help you.
I think the heart-based entrepreneur has the hardest time. And I know for myself, because autoimmune and gut were my, from going from like asthma, life support twice, gut issues, food allergies, colitis, ulcerative colitis, pylori. It's just, I went down so many roads that somebody would say, I don't have money. And I would be like, it's okay. Literally only charge me nothing. But we can also really hold true to our beautiful boundaries, and then make what I call choices. We can make choices at times to say with a client, we're going to work together for 2 hours and don't worry about the cost. Like we're going to worry about you getting to this next place. Sometimes we don't always know the next place. Or, hey, can we do this session? This session will be free. The next group, we are going to dive in more like this, and that's going to cost you X per month. So that there is a real soulful exchange where you don't feel guilty, you're not worrying, you know that you're meeting your client where they need, and also you're meeting financially the numbers that so you don't have to what? Go work in an office. So you can do this divine work, and that's the money mindset.
Entirely different.
Yeah. I mean, that's the money mindset, and that's where it really is great. Like, I didn't strategize my business in the beginning. I didn't check how much I was making because I thought that would be like bad karma. I didn't even know what I made for 3 years. This is how crazy it is.
What?
3 years.
How do you do your taxes?
Well, at the end of the year, I'd be like, okay, what did I make? But I always, would send it off to my accountant and everything. But I was like, I'm going to help people. I'm going to help people because I was worried that I didn't know how to combine those. I'd come from sales and
they're so totally different, but at the same time, you need both.
But I couldn't get over that. Here, I'll just give it free. But I had to make peace with that. And then when I realized, no, you can have strategy and soul. No one at the time that I was coaching ever really talked about that. They were like, charge this high rate. It was a very similar model that is still going on. Charge your worth. And I was like, but I know I'm good, but I don't really believe in myself. So I'm just not going to focus on it. Not always the best strategy, I tell people, but I can't tell you how many coaches I still see who say, I don't feel like I'm worth it. And so I always say, make these lower cost options that still feed into the big picture. So you don't get into that.
I don't feel like I'm worth it. I want
to help everyone.
I have friends who can't afford that.
100%.
Friend. I mean, I'm totally going to help you.
And
I don't want to watch you suffer.
Everyone comes. You have to keep in mind, you also have always been really blessed to have, I would say, a really confident mother that held space for you. And we don't always get that. I have a great mom. That's not her wheelhouse. And so sometimes, coaches come, and myself included, where I didn't feel that lack of confidence in commercial real estate, but this one was so close to my heart that it was just hard for me, At the same time, I really think that you can make this a low cost. You could make, if you wanted the 21 day to be a real doable, bring them into the group and really take the content and just expand it into week by week, mini chunks of them learning.
For me, that's one of, hands down, the hardest things for me to do is figure out pricing, because I want it so that they have enough skin in the game to where they'll actually finish it.
Yep.
But I don't want to overprice it to where no one can go in.
Yep. So let's even look first, and let's talk about a few price strategies.
Okay.
So we'll just go even 21 day hormone detox. With this one program, and again, doesn't mean you have to build out everything at once. It's knowing the big vision that allows you to reverse engineer back into, wow, how can I use this program in all these ways?
I was like, the one I know I'm definitely going to use in everything is the detox.
Yeah.
Because everything uses it.
And I feel like what's really cool also is my hormone writer. We always talk in depth about this. She's like, nobody is communicating to men. They should do this too.
It's because most of the people who are purchasing are women.
Well, but it's also the lack of education, because when my sister and husband wanted, or her husband wanted to have a baby, I said, you guys both need to detox. You need good healthy sperm.
And they need different foods than we need to increase fertility. I have a little where it's 2 paths if you're a boy or a girl.
See, that's amazing. And that allows you to take the content and then add in how amazing if it's like, welcome to the couple. Here's what you need to do to boost, your fertility foods for a guy. Here's this. And then they've got their own little, like, this is what we do together.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you could even have recipes that they have both shared as
exactly.
far as they can have dinner together, and it will help benefit both.
Yep, 100%. You're already thinking exactly. This is what I call like your pre drip, your workshops, whether you do them online, offline, even a pre recorded video series.
Hmm.
For a podcast, as here, check out what I do, or a summit, anything that you do to what get people either to your one-on-one or to your solo detox, because maybe some people don't need. So you really come out with three offers. It's one-on-one, self-paced do it yourself detox with videos, and then they graduate to the next level because you're like, hey, if you want to keep going, here is my membership. They could also, just to ensure that I say this as well, they could also be independent of each other per se. You might be able to, not might, but you could really break fertility into, this is 3 months, guys. We're going to really, set ourselves for fertility. We're also going to go through, this is going to be 2.5 months to 3 months. At that same time, the month before that you're moving into pregnancy, you start taking the pregnancy PowerPoints from the path of that and start dripping it out, building up and saying, guys, pregnancy doors open. It's 3 months long. This is what we're covering. And the more that we even talk about it, it might be nice to have them independent so that if those people needed to stay in the fertility, they
Yeah,
can.
that's what I liked about the having them as independent
Yep.
option, so that if someone is struggling, they can keep going into that
Yep.
one zone. And then after the second round, if it still hasn't happened, it's something that I would want to address one on one.
100%. And that's where they then get an email with a video from you that says, hey, or even a call. I wanted to personally call you. I see that, in our group, let's do a one-on-one for this amount of money. And I just think, one, that will separate you. Two, I don't know what person in the world doesn't want, to be seen and heard, especially when they're scared out of the bejesus that they're going to not be
Especially when they're
okay.
in their most vulnerable state.
100%. So these could be really looked as your evergreen freebies.
Yes.
I really, the reason I'm a huge video advocate, I know your mom is too, is because you can get to know somebody. They feel you. They, even if it's video, they feel like, do I vibe with the person? Same thing
Mm-hmm.
for this. I think so many women, and this is why when we launched this, I was like in tears. I thought I would have loved if this was around, if I knew these pieces, because even though I'm a coach, doesn't mean that I, just as you were saying, you're processing so many things, but you don't know how to put them together. This is not my niche at all. This is just inspired from all the things I struggled with and not always been given great information, usually given amazing information, but I still had to put the pieces together. So
It's
here's
like being given a toolbox, though. If you
exactly
don't know how to use the tools,
right. You're
I just
like,
now have a really awesome toolbox.
right. You're like, here's, oh my God, here's a 300-page book. I mean, you used to see me. I'd be like underlining, circling. So that's why when we put this together, it was very close to my heart. Um, this can start teasing if you do work on the menstruation, because I do think that healthy menstruation is also part of the fertility.
I think
Also,
it's a huge piece of fertility.
yeah.
You're
Also,
literally creating the foundation for your
yeah.
baby.
And also hormones being even, coming back into balance once you stop nursing, and for you not to be like, and then tilt into a myriad of other issues. Um,
Because
so
you're going to have a new normal.
yeah, oh my God,
The way it is.
yeah, TM that. But it really is. I mean, I always say, no, it's not normal for that. There's a problem. talk to somebody about that. So your one-on-one coaching session, these are just the mini handouts of the big. You could infuse those right away into your individual. It's almost like pick the path of where you're at. Are you trying to get pregnant? Click here. 21-day detox, then they graduate. Or your fertility modules is really 3 months. You do the 21-day detox, you work on that for 2 months. And then if they're able to get to the next place, or they go into one-on-one, or they redo it on their own, you know?
I figured with hormones, it was a really great gateway because hormones are attached to everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
blood sugar, gut, adrenals. Yeah. You really can get to the point, and that's how I looked at my gut business. I mean, people would say, why do you have so many problems? I was like, because the issue may be at the gut, but that's not like the most glaring issue. It's that the adrenals are crashed. This part's a mess. This part's a mess. This person might just need to, like me, learn to slow down and breathe so that we can address these other areas and not say, oh, I'm just too busy. So I would say we could craft so many different ways to kind of look at that. Look at how to use it from even your one-on-one as just an adjunct, like here, these are the recipes, so you don't have to pull recipes. Do all that every person does.
I was like, because right now I'm making like little recipe books for everyone.
I did the same thing. And it's hours. It really is. Then your time equity, even if you're charging, comes down to about $20 an hour you're working for. So, I mean, that was the same. That was the exact reason I started making programs is I was like, this isn't sustainable. Like I can't have 20 clients a month. And when I was sacrificing so many things because I didn't have enough time in the day. And for most of us at that early time, we don't have a team. We don't have team members. We're just doing it ourselves. So fertility.
I don't realize how many things go into it, like the blogging and all the social media and all just day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, day-to-day stuff that takes time. Not that anyone can't figure it out. Just takes time. So if you wanted to, this would be fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, and we would bring menstruation to the top. If you didn't, again,
I would probably do path 2 first, because then I can lead everybody into path 1.
These are coming soon. I mean, I'm so close to these being done. When we did them, I just felt that there was some stuff that just...
They were up before. I was like, I know they were there.
They were. And
I was talking with Mom, and I was like...
And the thing is that, I'm always fully transparent. When we wrote them, we focused a lot on like some of the blocks that a lot of people don't talk about, like STDs, things that people are like, oh, I don't have that. And I felt that it needed to be more an individual booklet. Because
everybody has at least one STD.
They do, but also, let's say
active.
We have
mono, the most number one
is
Did you ever share drink?
Well, and is herpes. I mean, I would say almost like a lot of people are like, I don't have herpes. It's like, what do you think? This dot is when you go to your dermatologist. But also, I had to take into consideration that how it was written before is there was information on like best birth control methods. Well, that's not applicable to somebody not postpartum, really postmenopause or even deep in menopause. That's not their biggest concerns. Yeah. So I just had pulled them down and said, we don't need much, and we really don't need much more work on it. I just felt that there needed to be more on like adrenals and gut and stuff of that I feel are like main roadblocks for people, but still to bring in the information.
Plus at the same time, those huge roadblocks are something that is going to be able to, that information is something they can apply throughout their entire life cycle.
Yeah, 100%. So our plan is, to have them done. I would say in the next 2 weeks in the next 6 weeks. But they're like, when I say they're very close done. That's it. So I would say whichever you wanted to start with, even if you didn't want to like overwhelm yourself and be like, okay, let me work on like
My goal is to do at least the detox
Yep.
by June. I want to have the detox up and running by June.
Yep. 100%. And just like I talked to a woman on the phone, she was like, she actually works with women of, and this is just what lights her up, is she works with women of all ages to get their period really healthy. She uses herbs, everything. I wouldn't say exactly similar to you by any means. She does a lot of like body work, and that's
Exactly the same way.
so, I mean, that's actually what she just bought. She was like, let me start here. And she was like, and then I'm going to build on them. Like, let me really get one really nailed down, um, and then build. Because getting that building, that process, you really could end up at many different, as you said, self-paced, that you have calls that are support or even a main group from, of course, individualized calls. You could do like in the detox to, if you start with the detox, but then you start building on what we call these extra modules.
That's totally the way I'm looking at it.
You rock
I'm looking at it like a building, and the lobby floor is detox land.
Yeah. So like in the middle is detox. You do that more at self-paced with all the videos. And then if somebody comes in, boom, they go, and then they graduate. So if you wanted to graduate to menstruation first, then you really rock that out. All those videos become in the library, and then you do it live, because those videos are really, if you do them pre-recorded, which I suggest, you could have like 20 pre-recorded videos, and then your lives.
Well, I was thinking about doing both. So I was going to do as much pre-recorded as physically possible, so it takes more off of my plate. And then I would just go in once a week and do
that's exactly what I was going to say. You just then your lives become questions specific to them, hurdles, blockages, roadblocks, but also wins. And then you do them, and then they become evergreen. Then you do the lives, and then you're just being smart with your content always. That would be my suggestion. And
now I'm kind of like building up to that detox, and I want it hormone based. So right now I'm spending a week on each hormone. And I figured, since most people are struggling with weight, especially this time of year, it's like when everyone's super into it, I figured I would focus on all the hormones that, when they're out of balance, cause weight gain. So each week I'm bringing on another hormone, and I break down all of it.
Yeah. I mean, when I say once you nail down one process, it's a rinse and repeat process, because once you're like, oh, wow, that went really well, then you can just add on, per se, it's really another funnel or step for that person. And so I think even starting, just if you want to just start with like 21-day detox, but the big vision, there's no right or wrong.
It's like, because I know I have that in my like vision, and that is definitely going to be a piece that I'm going to incorporate. I'm building as far as like bringing information on different hormones, why one hormone being out of whack can cause a lovely cascade effect throughout your life.
I mean, the only thing I would suggest is you're really in what I call the education and awareness phase. Bringing them to where you want to bring them, I always say, is actually a no-brainer when you really know what your ideal client wants and you're really clear on who you want to serve. So I would look at doing something like the estrogen dominance workshop, and really talking about something that I feel, even in today's market, is a huge missing piece that nobody talks about as much as it should be. And that will tie into the weight, the fertility issues, the progesterone. You kind of start to set the tone for that next step.
The rest of this quarter, next week is endorphins. This week's oxytocin. The week after that is estrogen. And then it goes into progesterone and testosterone. And I think that finishes out this quarter. And then next quarter, I was going to talk more about like the different organs and kind of how, like, what happens when your adrenals fail type deal. So it kind of like segues into the benefits of having those be as healthy as possible.
Yeah, and you might find, and sometimes this just happens in our business, you might be going through this. You could lead them actually to, hey guys, I did a 3-video pre-recorded series on estrogen dominance. Sign up for this.
Yeah.
Take the quiz. You might find that all of a sudden you have a lot of people that they're like, my adrenals, oh my God, my adrenals. And so then choosing, instead of going right into fertility, you might take them on that adrenal journey first.
Yeah.
And so that's why I always say it's really great to test. It's really great to have one baseline that you know everyone, no matter where they are placing, would do. I still think the 21-day hormone detox is a great place. I would just only look at what I call a really great signature list builder. I think estrogen dominance is just a huge topic, but if not, you take the PowerPoints from that, the endocrine disruptors, educate. Educate how autoimmune can play that role. Educate, lead them into that opportunity of a workshop, a live, offline or online, and you can still bring them all home. I call it the hybrid solution. You can still be pulling all your efforts from the online space, still bring them to a group online or a group offline.
That's exactly where I'm envisioning it going.
Yep.
So I know for sure that I want to do the detox as this is
as a starting place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say the only thing I would look at is the freebies in that detox, the 2 PowerPoints, because the key of trust in the online space is education and helping people, just like we even talked now. You just naturally connected many dots. Most people, it's not that they aren't smart, brilliant. It's just, it's not their specialty. They're too busy in life. And they've been bombarded with so much misinformation already that I do feel you've got to educate and really help them to see, wow, this person really makes sense. Like, this person I want to hire. And that is education, knowledge. They connect with you, they identify, and then they convert.
I was like, that was more of a trial and error. I had so many people when I was meeting with them, they were like, what's that? I thought there was only
100%.
estrogen or testosterone. I didn't know there was all these other hormones. And I was like, oh my God, I could do this every day until I died.
But the good thing is you will do it every day. I mean, I think that's the part is it usually is the most basics that if we don't know that, we can't connect the dots, and we stay in a state of overwhelm no matter what. So I think that is like the home run out of everything that we kind of talked about, to be able to keep it at a place where you feel comfortable, you're not getting ahead of yourself, you test it, you see what works, and then you see what is the most, where are you called to, and then where also are the people that are coming to in the online space, which may be a little different from your one-on-one. And that's what a lot of people don't talk about. It's not that you can't attract the same person, but the person who wants to be in a group is different from your one-on-one. You can still bring that same excellence online, which is why I call it like a hybrid funnel solution. But just as you said, some of these topics are really private for people. They bring up a lot of emotions. But I think anything when we don't know what to do with our health is that way anyway.
Yeah.
So we start with 21-day hormone detox. Look at those. If you see that anything is missing, like a signature freebie or a workshop, then we'll just add to that piece.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No. Now I have so many different pathways. I have to figure out which one I want to go.
Well, that's the cool thing, is it's really just
pick first.
I think the more that we've talked about it, I think the 21-day hormone detox gives you a baseline.
That's for sure.
And it also gives you a baseline for your one-on-one, so you can end all the recipe. Of course you can add some extra recipes, but at least gives you a baseline for working with people, and that will also allow you to even take on more people.
Yeah.
And then you'll see, is it
fixing? I've never met someone who didn't need a detox. So, yeah. For sure.
And
That was
then
a no.
if you want to start with path two, I'll just notify you when we've got that ready, and we'll start with
Yeah.
path two. So either way, all right. So
Perfect.
question wise, we're pretty clear on step one. We've talked about all the possibilities that we can take from this, and we feel good. You were just saying about pricing.
Yeah. Pricing for me, I still am not entirely sure at what I should be pricing the programs for, but I mean, yeah.
When you buy, we actually do give a pricing guide. But what I would say is there's generalities. I always say, one, always know your one on one hourly price, even if you never charge hourly, because if you're doing a package, every person who does a package has a guesstimate. Let's say
Yeah.
it's they're charging 2,000 for a month. Let's just say on average their hourly price, let's say it's 297 if we're going to go on a higher level coach. So or let's say like 197 just to start out. If we're doing 10 hours of work with that client, it's 1970. If we're doing 20 hours guesstimated a month, which you think is a lot of calls, so it's really then how you structure your package. Do they get access to whenever? Is it Monday through Friday? Do you have a call a week and a follow-up call? How do you structure your packages?
I know as far as my one-on-one, it's $400 an hour.
So if we did 400 an hour and you said, I'm pretty much going to be, if you want to say 3 hours a week with this client or 2 hours a week with this client, then that becomes 8. And then you have a package 3,200 per month. So all of a sudden, as you see, you start to kind of play around with what works in the month. And then usually a group, if we went with the standard math, is usually 1/3. So if we said, I don't know how you see people, but if we said, 0.33, so if we decide 3,200 divided even by 0.33, you could say that then that's what you get on your cost of the group. And of course, like your 21 day is kind of your gateway. That's my like low cost offer because I really do believe people will pay. I mean, I have coaches who charge, more than that or double that. They will pay when you have consistently helped them through the problem. So if you wanted to say the low cost is 97 and the next step is 400, which is your one-on-one, if they go, let's just say whatever path, whichever funnel, 1, 2, 3, then is that group, if you're at 400 an hour, is that group then 197? Or is that group like 97 a month? Like you almost have to kind of play it out, and also what financially brings you and what you need per month. Because when you figure out that, changing prices, going up, going down, makes it kind of a no-brainer. And if you say, well, I'm going to do one session live a week, then you're playing around with numbers and also taking into account like who are the people that I attract, what is their average price range in the people that I know, and then testing out your prices as you go through. Because pricing really is all strategy. People used to say to me all the time, oh my God, working with you for a month in a group is so cheap. I said, yeah, but my goal is they go to the next step. Everyone in my niche needs personalization. They need essential oils. They need all these things. So why wouldn't I just deliver it to them at that price? They build trust. So if I do say, hey, is this going to be, 397 for the month, and you get 4 live talks, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That then turns into 1,191 for 3 months of being with you.
Yeah.
Hence, if you say even 10 people, it's 11,910.
It was like, because I already know that the bulk of my income is going to be coming from my one-on-ones anyway, but I still wanted to leave that, like, I wanted to be able to
Yeah.
help more people. And I know that that price range doesn't
Hit for everyone. 100%. So even if you said even if you said 397 for the month, or even 350.
I was thinking around, like, I wanted to do like 197.
I mean, that's what, when people say, oh my God, she's undercharging, I say, well, that's interesting, because we've leveraged up by like 100,000 each year, because you start to then add more to the same process at work. So if you say 197, you've got 30 women, it's 5,910 a month times 3, you're at 17,730.
Mm-hmm. I was talking to a girl, because we were talking about collaborating on a different program together. And I told her what I was envisioning charging for my program per month. And she's like, I charge that per hour. And I was like, I charge $400 per hour. I wanted it to be something that,
Yeah,
within most people's price range.
Well, and also I would say one-on-one, I just feel has to be a different rate than I would say on average. What I will see is somebody's hourly usually is the cost of the month. Doesn't mean it's across the board exactly. Again, you have to reverse engineer always and go, how many one-on-ones am I having? How many small workshops? I mean, it's funny, I never per se counted the money, but I knew the goals I needed to hit on these low and free classes. I knew my conversion rate to one-on-one. I knew all those because I knew how much money I needed to make, and I knew the money that I wasn't making enough and what my goals needed to be. So I have a client who charges like $333 a month, lucky 333. And at first, I think she had 100 people in, and then she scaled up. Not everyone gets a ton of people in, especially depending on the niche issue. But that's where, again, can play around with price by saying it's going to be this cost, and an extra VIP session is, only going to be $297 instead of my usual price. And then all of a sudden you still meet, people are happy, they want to continue. So pricing, I always say that's its own time to really sit down with that and say, what is reasonable, what is doable, all that simple. I mean, it's not simple, but it's you really plan out a strategy for a quarter, sticking with it, seeing where you want to change it, and then analyzing at the end of the next quarter, 2 weeks before, and saying, do I need to change prices? I'm going to this next program. Am I charging more for this next program because it's more intensive? Hence, like, you really level your prices based on the intensity of what you guys are reviewing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
And the other is, don't compare yourself to anyone else.
You out of it.
Well, and don't compare yourself to anyone else, because I can't tell you how many high ticket summits I've been to, or things where people are charging a ton and they're making nothing.
Yeah.
So I just think price is relative, and it's also listening to yourself and being like, okay, I'm ready to charge more. Like, I'm that much better of a coach. And I think that's usually how we most often get to that place of increasing our costs, is we feel, okay.
To me, I would prefer to have it as low as possible. But at the same time, I don't want them to not finish.
Yep. I'm totally with you. I am. And that's why for some people, you're not working with...
for free if I thought that they would finish.
Well, and for some people, they're not working with that top 1%. And I would say the majority of the world is not there either. And so that's what I mean about price having flexibility. Wouldn't it be amazing if the person who has a session with you can't afford another, can go into a 197 program? She will finish and she will stay, because all she has to say is, boom, cutting out coloring my hair, I'm doing it myself. Cutting out this, it's real doable to cut out 197, then 697 for the program that you may be able to pull out, rob money from Peter to pay Paul.
That price. I was like, I feel like that's attainable for anyone to do within.
Yeah. Yep. And the other nice thing is you can also have tiers. You might get to a point where you do say, you know what, it is $697 for this, but we meet every week. We meet twice. Like we are having an intensity, and at that time, you'll know that. Or you'll decide, let me look at this in like Q3, end of Q3, mid of Q4 to really analyze where I need to be next year. And to start fast forwarding vision of prices and those tiers. It's really commitment levels, but it also, I think, really does come down to money. People sometimes really don't have it. And the last thing you want to do is, I've even said to some coaches, you're not ready to work with me yet. I don't want you to have money of stress. I don't want you to have, fear of stress, of that you don't have money that you invested. Don't put that stress on yourself. Start here, which my membership is like that baseline. Get the basics. Then we can strategy.
Membership, because I was like, oh,
yeah.
So it's more attainable to other people.
And I will say, a lot of people, if you really want to do that, do start with like the 97, and then buy PowerPoints from us or have them themselves. Take them through a really low cost because they will want to go higher. Or you just really have to paint that path for them to go higher.
So I figured I would start at like that program first. And then once I've built up a pretty substantial trust with other people, I can then offer up more programs.
Yeah, more opportunities. Yeah, I just look at it as opportunities. No matter what you're doing, when you really build trust, and trust isn't built by the school we go to or this place. It's built by
and it's not built overnight.
No, it's built by really showing up. And I don't mean just showing up with the typical post, showing up and sharing everything that you just said to me on this, talk and taking it to this next level and giving them these mini chunk size pieces. So they keep watching. They see that you're consistent. They see you haven't flopped and been like, oh guys, now I'm working with women with gut. It's like you stayed consistent with what you want to be known for, and you've bled it into every really problem, main mass problem, niche down problem, problems that people don't even associate. Like I would say the common person does not associate blood sugar issues with hormones.
But at the same time, your hormones regulate your blood sugar.
Exactly. They don't relate it with my hair's falling out. Or they're just like, oh, but my thyroid's not bad. My doctor said that. Now I always think,
your hormones.
Yeah, well, your thyroid could be fine, but did somebody to see if it's underactive, if it's, and that's where I look at really brilliant coaches like you. So often we jump and think, but I got all these programs and I got all that's not what makes you a great coach. That saves you time.
Yeah.
So you can do what you do like a rock star, so that you can save and help and take people as far as they can go with you, so that they can find the next stop if it's not with you.
I was like, because it sounds horrible, but my goal is to give them the tools and skill set they need, so they don't need they don't need me to hold their hand through the entire step.
I used to say to my clients right at our first session, I would say, my goal is to teach you everything, meaning like all the things I wish I would have known, to help you learn how to tap into intuition. And like, if you go near a food or a supplement and you're like, ooh, to either say, is my body saying it? Or how to deal with constipation, how to deal with it. It's not do this one protocol, because that never worked for me. It was all these combinations.
I'm all for protocols, but at the same time, I want to teach you how to make the most out of your life. Yeah. Especially when you're alone. Yeah. Because you're going to be alone more than you're not. So.
Yeah. 100%. I am totally there with you. And when I also tell people like the things that you're doing in one-on-one, think of every women's wellness center around you. Most cities have a red tent. Most places have even like Soul Cycle or Flywheel or all these different places that people are craving for information, and they are solving them in the way they think. But when somebody like you comes in, they're like, okay, so can I have your card? Wait, everything you just said, oh my God, this handout, I was just thinking that. Then all of a sudden you are using, really the powerhouse that even just in listening to you have, which is communication, helping, step-by-step knowledge. And then they can still, oh, these are the ways to work with me. I work one-on-one. Or you can start at my phase 1. This is my phase 1. And then either they have a group, then you've got your 21-day hormone track, then they can graduate to their different tracks. All of a sudden, you have this huge business that you've built strategically, always in thought of the ideal client, always in thought of the different stages. And all of a sudden, you've got 7 streams of reoccurring money, all doing the same thing that you want to do. Educate, teach, empower, so they can leave you and then come back when another piece feels broken.
Yep.
Yay! All right, so we know where we're going to start. We know where we're going potentially. I would always say, like, just put this on a big whiteboard, like you have your vision board in the back. Yeah, put it on a big whiteboard, and just plan it out, and then go step by step and put it together. Sounds good?
It sounds amazing.
Awesome.
And it's exactly like where I was going. So I'm super excited.
Yay. All right. So we solved the problem. We're on to the next, and we're going to plan it out.